beautiful people. This is Kenya coming at you again, and today I'm going to be talking to you about being black in South Korea. I lived in Korea for about 3 years, and during that time, my personal experience of being black in Korea was really not an issue. I didn't have a lot of issues that some people communicate that they say they had, or at least some of the stories that I read on certain Facebook groups or some of the stories that I heard from my friends. My experience was pretty much a positive experience. I did not deal with a lot of racism or a lot of ignorance in terms of myself being black. But for those of you out there who are wondering, here are a few thoughts that I put together for you to keep in mind. All right, so number one is the stares. You will get stared at regardless. And you're going to get stared at because you're a foreigner, and Koreans are just not used to foreigners. So Korea is a homogenous society. So whenever foreigners around, that's kind of the thing in Korea. You will forever be a foreigner. Like people who learn the language, people who've been there for years, they're still referred to and looked upon as the foreigner. So that's one thing, just let that go. Don't worry about it. You'll always be a foreigner. But in terms of being black in Korea, people do stare. You never get used to the stares. I've been there for 3 years, and it's still annoying or still awkward because you can look them dead in the eye. And if you're here, when you look somebody in the eye, it's like a recognition of some sort. In Korea, especially with the older people, they'll just keep staring at you like they have every right to, and like you're an artifact in the museum. So again, this is going to be a running theme in this video. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Because it happens. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's just plain old ignorance. But regardless, it is not the same as being in America, and I'll touch on that a little later. The other thing is your hair. Will people try to touch your hair? Maybe. I didn't have that problem, but I know a few friends who did. I also know a few friends who got touched in other places, like their bum. One of my friends she was out on the street, like on the sidewalk, waiting for the stoplight, something like that. And a Korean lady came up to her and was saying something to her in Korean and smiling, and then she tapped that, and she was like smiling at her and giving her the thumbs up. So, oh, and I got touched maybe once or twice. And the odd thing about it is I got touched in a jjimjilbang. If you don't know what a jjimjilbang is, it's the Korean sauna, which oftentimes also have public baths. So in public baths, you are naked together. And a couple of times I had the older women in Korea, who we refer to as ajumas, kind of look at my skin and touch my skin and smile. So a lot of times it's curiosity. This does not give them a pass to touch you or violate you or cross that line. So, if you feel like they have crossed the line, you're free to express that. Do it politely though, because again, in Korea and in Asia in general, expressing anger is crossing the line. Expressing anger is something you don't do. So you can just say it calmly but directly, or kindly and directly. Please don't do that, or no, anio. Anio means no in Korea. So yeah, the hair. Okay, so about the hair, in regards to the hair, you will get stares about that. That will be a constant conversation at your job, so at school. I remember I would part my hair on the opposite side, and they'd be like, "Oh, Kenya, you changed your hair." I had one friend tell me that her teachers told her, "Oh, I like your hair better when it's in a bun instead of being out, or instead of being in braids." And so you will get the most visceral reactions to your hair. Be prepared for that. Don't take it personal. Koreans can be very direct in a lot of different ways, even with each other. So it's not a personal thing about you. I've read articles on Korean Americans who visit Korea for one reason or another, and if they interact with their family who are Koreans from Korea, they, particularly the females, they often complain that they just get ragged on constantly to the point it brings some people to tears, but it does not help their self-esteem. So again, that's just the culture. Don't take it personal. Take it with a grain of salt, but they will comment on your hair. Your hair will be the topic of discussion. Your students will also tell you exactly how they feel about your hair. If you're wearing braids, if you wear your hair out, they will compare you to the craziest Black celebrities in general, whether they're African or from America or from wherever. They will compare you to them. Like, for example, when I was doing an introductory class of myself and showing pictures of my family, some of my students were like, "Ooh, chocolate," or Ghana. And so to me, it was funny. Some people get offended, but again, you can't walk around waiting to be offended at every little thing. For me, I feel like you have to have a sense of humor. They don't know any better. It was funny to me. I know. And here's the other thing: be confident when you go there. Don't be there. Don't take America's dirty laundry with you, Black Americans, okay? Because you'll just be a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. So don't compare the experiences that you have with race issues to what's in America, because it's different. It just is. It's just different. Anyway, yeah. So I know how beautiful Blackness is. So I'm not offended when somebody makes a silly joke like that, because they are really sheltered and ignorant, the students there especially. So they really don't know. Don't take it personal. But there have been some really bad things that happened in Korea in terms of race. A couple things: they do blackface there, and this is not something that's commonly practiced, but on a couple of their comedy shows, they'll like dress up in blackface and wear a curly wig and think it's funny, and they don't really get how not funny it is until you make an example of them. Like, say, well, what if I dressed up in yellow face and did my eyes a certain way, and then they're like, oh no, that's disrespectful, or oh no, that's racist, or oh no, that's not right. Well, yeah, that's the same point that we're trying to make. So there is the issue of that. There was another issue in Seoul where during the whole Ebola thing, and everyone was trying to blame Ebola on Africa, there was this restaurant that had a sign in the window that said "No Africans here because of Ebola," or something like that, and Facebook blew up. Like, people were going off, people were trying to protest the place, and the owner ended up apologizing, but by that time people were already teed off. So there are things like that you have to be aware of. There are also issues when you travel, or even in Korea, running into other foreigners who will test you either to be jerks or because they don't know. But I had a friend who encountered some Europeans when she was traveling in the Philippines, and she was really bothered by the fact that there was this German guy who was casually using the N-word. So there are those instances, and he didn't feel like it was a big deal. He thought it was funny, or he was like, what, that's how we use it in Germany, it's no big deal. And again, you have to look at each moment or occurrence like that as either, am I going to walk away, am I going to check this fool in, or will you regard it as a teachable moment? It's to try to educate the person or explain it to them. But you can't always argue with fools. Sometimes you just have to let it go and walk away and know to keep your distance. Okay, so some of the more positive things. So being Black in Korea for me was a bit liberating. Kenya got to be Kenya without having the labels of being Black. So that was my experience. I was just Kenya. I was, okay, so you're always going to be judged as a foreigner, but I was judged for myself and not really for my race or my color. It was, it was based on that. So that, for me, that was rather liberating, to not have in the back of my mind constantly, oh, is that because I'm Black? Did they react that way because I'm Black? Because a lot of times in America, these are the subconscious thoughts of Black people on a daily basis. that's something I didn't have to worry about. The other thing is that even though Koreans can be a certain kind of way about beauty standards, they do value that pale skin, but they also value people who look different from them. So oftentimes, myself and other black teachers would often get compliments from Koreans. So they would go, "Oh, epuda, epuda," which means beautiful. So, there are, oh, and you will be treated as a celebrity, not just in Korea, but also in Asia. I think China was the place where I got asked the most by strangers if they could take a picture with me. Sometimes that annoys people. To me, again, it's not a big deal, but that is Black in Korea. So let me know if you have more questions, more specific questions. Share your stories with me. If you've been to Korea, what's been your experience of being Black in Korea? And if you like the video, like it down below. If you think the video is cool, share it. And if you really like what you see, subscribe. All right? Deuces.